Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
John Craig, Chief Political Correspondent. It takes... I'm just going to say, normally we see 4 tellers. There's 2 there at the moment.
They're not all there yet, are they? So, we saw the other night there was a delay on one of the votes. Now, who's that?
Here we go, let's listen.
I can hear the cheers.
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 286. The noes to the left, 344.
The ayes to the right, 286. The noes to the left, 344. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock. Okay. Point of order, the Prime Minister.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think it should be a matter of profound regret to every member of this House that once again we have been unable to support leaving the European Union in an orderly fashion. The implications of the House's decision are grave. The legal default now is that the United Kingdom is due to leave the European Union on the 12th of April, in just 14 days' time. That is not enough time to agree, legislate for and ratify a deal, and yet the House has been clear it will not permit leaving without a deal. And so we will have to agree an alternative way forward. The European Union has been clear that any further extension will need to have a clear purpose and will need to be agreed unanimously by the heads of the other 27 member states ahead of the 12th of April. It is almost certain to involve the United Kingdom being required to hold European parliamentary elections. On Monday, this House will continue the process to see if there is a stable majority for a particular alternative version of our future relationship with the EU. Of course, all of the options will require the withdrawal agreement. Mr. Speaker, I fear we are reaching the limits of this process in this House. This House has rejected no deal. It has rejected no Brexit. On Wednesday, it rejected all the variations of the deal on the table. And today, it has rejected approving the withdrawal agreement alone and continuing a process on the future. This government will continue to press the case for the orderly Brexit that the result of the referendum demands.
Point of order, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, this is now the 3rd time the Prime Minister's deal has been rejected. When he was defeated the first time, the Prime Minister said it's clear this House does not support the deal. Does she now finally accept that the House does not support the deal? Because she seemed to indicate just now that she's going to return to this issue again. On Monday, this House has the chance, and I say to all members, Mr. Speaker, the responsibility to find a majority for a better deal for all the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, the House has been clear. This deal now has to change. There has to be an alternative found. And if the Prime Minister can't accept that, then she must go, not at an indeterminate date in the future, but now, so that we can decide the future of this country through a general election.
Point of order, Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We should all be aware...
The right honourable gentleman must be heard. Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We should all be aware of the responsibilities that we all have in this House, the seriousness of the situation that we are in. And I would say respectfully to the Prime Minister, she now has to accept that her deal has been defeated 3 times. And I applaud the members of Parliament on all sides that voted against the government's proposition. It is a bad deal, and we have to find a way out of the crisis that we are in. All of our constituents would expect that. We must give ourselves time, and I suggest to the Prime Minister We now must look seriously at the option of revocation. We need to apply the handbrake to this process. And quite simply, Mr. Speaker,
you've messed it up.
The Prime Minister has failed to take this deal forward. She does not have the confidence of the House. The Prime Minister has indicated her departure. She should now go, and we should be having a general election.
Thank you.
Well, an awful lot to react to. You've been with us, I know, for the last dramatic 10 minutes. First of all, the third defeat of the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement. This was the withdrawal agreement on its own this time. It didn't make a lot of difference. The numbers have gone down, but just we'll underline them for you. Those in favour, 286. Those voting no, 344. A majority against the withdrawal agreement of 58. Then you heard the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister stood on her feet and said, well, there's a stark choice now for the United Kingdom: either leave without a deal on April the 12th or extend beyond that point with preconditions set by the European Union, which include taking part in the European elections in late May. Just also hearing, before I get reaction from my panel, just also hearing from the EU Council President, Donald Tusk, saying that they will hold an emergency summit on April the 10th. There's his tweet, and just to underline what the opposition parties have been saying, Jeremy Corbyn saying that the Prime Minister, given that she said she's going to go sooner, she might as well go as soon as she should resign and hold a general election, and that underlined by the SNP leader in Westminster, Ian Blackford. Let's go to our Deputy Political Editor, Beth Rigby. She has got Chuka Umunna now from the new party, Change UK.
Hi, Dermot. Yes, Chuka is with me. Not the leader of the new party, though. I was a bit surprised.
Well, look, we've got various different people in our party. We want to use everybody's voices. We've got an ex-Labour spokesperson, an ex-Labour convener, and we want to have a good spread. So we've got an ex-Tory interim leader.
Interim leader, right? Well, does that mean you decide a future leader at another point?
That's right, yes. But the reason, and we've been vindicated actually from the result that we've just heard in the House of Commons just now, but the reason that we've sought to register quicker than we would have wanted is because we want to be in a position to be able to stand candidates in any European elections that are held. The Prime Minister has just said, because her withdrawal agreement has been roundly rejected now, I cannot see her being able to bring it back, that we are now looking at a long extension of Article 50, such that there will need to be European elections here. And the independent group, as Change UK, the independent group, we want to stand candidates, which is why we've applied to register as a party today at the Electoral Commission.
So you're gearing up for the EU elections. How worried are you about a general election, as this Brexit gridlock basically renders this Parliament useless, really?
Well, we are halfway through an indicative vote process, which started on Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it was. I lose track of where we are, where we had all the different Brexit options put on the table, and the House of Commons voted on it to indicate which were the favourites. The favourites came out as a people's vote, referring this back to the people to resolve this impasse, and secondly, a customs union. That, if you like, was the the group stages of the contest between the options. On Monday will be the playoffs, if you like, where we actually discover what the key options will be that will go to the House of Commons. And that's where we're likely to see some alternative, I think, emerge, and that's important.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I've got to throw back now. There's Mr. Umunna. So they're Change UK, a new party in case we have to run those European elections. That certainly became a bigger option now that Theresa May's deal has failed to win support for the third time, but questions too about whether or not we could be going into a very long extension, potentially a customs union, even a general election. I get different answers according to different cabinet ministers, which I think it's fair to say the situation is fluid.
You can say that again, Beth, and you will be, because we'll be coming back to you soon. A lot of MPs to talk to. I know they're our Deputy Political Editor there, Beth Rigby. And what Beth didn't touch on is the future of the Prime Minister herself. You may have heard Jeremy Corbyn and Ian Blackford from the SNP calling for her resignation. Well, this coming from the heart of her own party with in the European Research Group. I'll put my specs on to read it to you. Deputy Chairman Steve Baker, who, of course, resolutely voted against this deal for the third time. And he says says this must be the final defeat for Theresa May's deal. It's finished. We must move on. It's not passed. It will not pass. I regret to say it's time for Theresa May to follow through on her words and make way so a new leader can deliver a withdrawal agreement which will be passed by Parliament. It's been a tragic waste of time and energy for the country. We can waste no more. That from the Deputy Chairman of the European Research Group. So Nina Schick, I mean, the fact is that you might expect the opposition to be calling for the Prime Minister to go, but the pressure building from parts of her own party.
Yeah, I think Theresa May's career is coming to an end. She will go. It's a question of when, not if. But I don't know if her going fundamentally solves the problem. You heard it there in Steve Baker's words. We want to have a new withdrawal agreement that the Parliament can pass. The withdrawal agreement is not changing. The EU is not reopening the withdrawal agreement.
Well, it took 2 and a bit years to negotiate.
2 and a bit years to negotiate. Let's not forget that the priorities that the EU has put down in the withdrawal agreement, citizens' rights, Irish border, money. They're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter who the new Prime Minister is. And Theresa May did say that in her speech. She said, whatever option we decide to take going forward, it needs to be passed with the withdrawal agreement. And I fear that if Theresa May goes, that whoever the new leader or Prime Minister is, that we'll have another period of extended, wasted time trying to reopen and renegotiate the withdrawal agreement, which is unequivocally closed.
Hearing about unicorns again. Listen, I'll hear from the other two on my panel in a moment or two, but EU reaction crucial, of course. You will know that we just reported to you that the EU Council President, Donald Tusk, said there will be now an emergency summit on April the 10th. That's 2 days before the UK is now due to leave the European Union. Let's talk to our Europe correspondent, Mark Stone. And, what more reaction, Mark?
The summit is a key bit of news which we expected might come. It has now been confirmed by the President of the European Council. He, of course, represents the 27 remaining members of the EU. And on background, I've been given a bit more information from an EU source who says that they expect that the Prime Minister would take part in that summit, that she would be here for at least part of it. So it would take the same format as the one we saw last week, where she would offer up perhaps an alternative proposal. And then as a 27 level, so without the UK present, they would then discuss what next. And they do expect that the UK would indicate well before that summit a path forward, either an agreement to participate in the European elections and an alternative plan, given that this plan appears to be dead, her deal appears to be dead in the water. They would expect that there would be some signposting given by the Brits well before that. So that is the Council. The Commission separately has released a statement. I'll read it to you. It says the Commission regrets the negative vote in the House of Commons today. As per the European Council decision on March 22nd, the period provided for in Article 50 is extended now till the 12th of April. So remember, if her deal had passed, there would have been an automatic extension until the 22nd of May to ratify the deal that was passed today. Given that it hasn't passed, we go now to the 12th of April. We know there's a summit 2 days before that. And then importantly, it goes on to say a no-deal scenario on the 12th of April is now a likely scenario. The EU has been preparing for this since December 2017 and is now fully prepared for a no-deal scenario at midnight on the 12th of April. The EU will remain united. The benefits of the withdrawal agreement, including a transition period, will in no circumstances be replicated in a no-deal scenario. Sectoral mini-deals are not an option. So a reiteration there, countering what some in the UK have suggested, which is that we could just have a no-deal and then still get a transition period, or have a no-deal and still be able to put together some mini-deals. Not possible, so says the European Commission.
OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed. Mark Stone there, Europe correspondent with the latest reaction from Brussels. Just want to take you through the numbers again if you're just joining us on another day of drama, deep political drama here at Westminster. The Prime Minister has been defeated again on her withdrawal agreement. Remember, this was just the withdrawal agreement, didn't involve the political declaration, so it was not a meaningful vote, but nevertheless defeated by a large majority again. 58 votes defeat, 286 voting for the government's motion. 344 MPs voting against. And we'll be getting the breakdown of how the various parties went. I think just very quickly, John Craig, what are you hearing? Because I want to talk to Beth.
It's being reported that there were 34 Conservative rebels, which is a lot, and probably more than we thought there might be. 34 Conservative rebels. OK, well, I think Beth Rigby has got one of them with her. Our Deputy Political Editor there is in Parliament's Central Lobby, and I understand you've got the former Attorney General with you.
Yes, I have, Dermot. I've got Dominic Grieve here, who I think voted against the government again. Yes. Dominic, just heard from Mark Stone in Europe saying that the EU are now fully prepared for a no-deal Brexit and will have an emergency council. What happens now? Are we crashing out?
We shouldn't be crashing out, because the Prime Minister said again at the dispatch box this afternoon that she recognised that the House of Commons had absolutely rejected leaving with no deal. But that then requires the Prime Minister to be willing to look at alternatives to her deal, which she's kept on trying to get through Parliament and failing to do. And although she has always said she's negotiated this deal in good faith, the truth is that for a variety of perfectly legitimate reasons, MPs are looking at it and realising it's a bad future for our country, and that's why they're voting against it. So she's got to go away and come up with a plan B.
Yeah, and every time I ask anyone in Cabinet what the plan B is, they don't have a plan B, it's just plan A, which is Mrs May's plan. From your perspective, you must be quite pleased about this, because now it looks, as you said, that we could be heading for a long extension and perhaps a customs union Brexit. That's something certainly that would please you personally, wouldn't it? Isn't that the kind of Brexit you've always wanted?
Well, I'm relieved rather than pleased, because I wish this dreadful episode were over. I have to say that my view has always been that there are inherent flaws in this project, and we are now talking, whatever we're talking about something entirely different from what we were debating in 2016. So my view has always been that whatever deal we get, we should be going back to the electorate and asking them, do they want whatever we can offer them? If they do, then we leave on that deal. I'm respectful of that 100%, and I cooperate and help the Prime Minister get it. But the alternative is, do they want to remain in the EU? And we should respect that too. There are alternative options. I think it's pretty plain that the House of Commons is interested in a much softer form of Brexit. But I do accept that the softer the form of Brexit, the more it can be argued that it's removed from the 2016 referendum result. So more reason to have a referendum on it.
And I'm going to just quickly ask you one more thing. You're having your meeting at your local constituency in Beaconsfield tonight. I understand that there are some in your local association that would like to remove you as their MP. Are you worried that you're going to have the support withdrawn from you in your own constituency?
I think it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. My association is divided on this issue, just as the rest of the Conservative Party and indeed Parliament and the Labour Party are divided on this issue. And people have sincerely held an entirely respectable views, some of which may be different from my own. I don't know how this evening will pan out. People will have an opportunity of expressing their opinion and questioning me on my motives, my actions, and my approach to this problem. And I don't expect people to necessarily agree with me, and they're under no obligation to do so. But I do think, and I think something we have to bear in mind, is that unless we as a party can take our way through this, then the party's future may well be quite bleak. But I say we will have a discussion tonight, and of course I'm looking forward in one way to that. It gives me an opportunity for a dialogue.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Grieve. Thank you for joining us on Sky News. Well, Dermot, you heard Mr. Grieve there talking about his own association. He's facing deselection potentially from an angry Conservative party. It just shows you what the divisions are like when it comes to Brexit.
Beth, thank you very much indeed.